Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirits. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for joining me for another action-packed episode. As in this week's show, we're going to be discussing the topic of remaining grateful. Also, we're going to have the channeling from the world of spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel for spirit to bring their wisdoms and communications through. And then later on in this episode, we have a sneaky peek into this week's forecast reading. So let's get stuck straight in with this topic, remaining grateful. Now, it's going to be a very interesting deep dive of a conversation in this episode. So let's get cracking with it. So basically, we've all been there in life where we've had ups and downs and frustrations, and we felt angry and upset and agitated. We've all been there. And there's an old saying that kind of encapsulates this, if that's the right phrase, and that is, when life knocks you down, get back up again. And, that's a very inspirational saying, isn't it? But it's easier said than done, as we all know, when we've all been through these trials and tribulations in life. But, there's something within us, there's a spark in our heart, a divine calling, something there that no matter what life throws at us, there's always that survival mechanism or that determination or that drive to try something else, isn't there? And that's what we're talking about, remaining grateful and trying and keep on pushing forward. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to break it down so that you can, if you are going through this situation at this moment in time, that you can remain grateful and positive, even though you've gone through maybe a lot of trauma or a lot of these trials and tribulations that we speak of today. So I'm going to share with you some help, some guidance and encouragement so that you can get back up on your feet, dust yourself down, and keep on moving forward. So the first thing I'd like to encourage you is to, whatever the circumstance or situation it is that you're going through, start and see the situation differently. And what I mean by this is, rather than just saying, woe is me, this is shocking, this is not very nice, I don't like what's happened to me, why me, why has this happened? I want you to just change that and flip the script round by starting to notice and observe that they're lessons. You're in a classroom called life, and it's giving you some very important lessons. So start by extracting the positive in that situation, in the lesson itself. And you start this process by, what have I learned from this situation? What has it taught me? In most cases, what I've observed anyway, is life is a continued cycle of contrast. So depending upon your observations, depending upon your frequency and where you're at vibrationally, your perception changes, doesn't it? And so if you're going through some trials or tribulations and you're not fully prepared to go through them, it kind of comes from the blue, straight away you're coming from that viewpoint of, oh, no, not again. Why is this happening to me? Why? You've got all those questions in your head, haven't you? Well, start and, like I say, extract lessons from the situation. What can I learn from this? And as I say, contrast. I'm going back on myself now, but talking about contrast. If we didn't have these situations in our life, and it was all sunshine and daisies all of the time, we would never make a choice. We would never make a decision, and we would never change the status quo in order to flourish, expand and grow. We'd all remain the same because we're like, oh, I like this. This is very comfortable. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with my lot. Yet the universe, it requires expansion, and you're a part of that universe. You are created from the same elements of the universe. And so therefore, you're going to expand, and everything never changes the same. It always moves in cycles. And with this being the case, this is where contrast comes in, and why it comes in, because it encourages you to make an informed decision upon the situation that you've gone through. And one of those things is, do I really like this situation? Am I happy with how things are going? Usually it's a yes or no answer. And whatever the case that may be for you, upon that, it triggers, well, if it's not in alignment with who I am, then what is in alignment with who I am? And it begs that question, doesn't it? So straight away, from that situation and it begging that question, already it's taking you on the beginning of a new vibrational timeline journey in your life. And with doing this, in order to propel you forward and gain momentum, this is what I'm talking about, extracting lessons from the situation. What have I learned from this? Well, I've learned I don't like it. I've learned that I'm worthy of better, and you can start asking these informed questions in your mind. And some, let's be honest, it sounds quite obvious, doesn't it, when we say it out loud? But we've all been there, including myself. And sometimes it's good to hear somebody talk about it, because there is an assumption, isn't there, with life and how people live their life, that we all know these things. And on many levels, we do. We know them. But we forget about them because life takes over. We all become very busy, very consumed with what's happening externally, and we forget about the processing that is involved in order for us to function and flow through life. So that's why I'm bringing it up. So don't be afraid to start again from a fresh perspective. And again, we've all been there. We've all started new things. We've ended old things. And again, that's related to what I was saying. With contrast, we've made decisions that's taken us on a different pathway in our life. And so, again, as we said, everything is changing, evolving, expansion. Whether we like it or not, change is inevitable. It's going to happen. So, be in the mindset of starting again. Be open to that. And when you're open to it, there's less restrictions. You're not limiting your choices. You're not limiting your vision. So being open from that, and again, coming from a fresh perspective, maybe prior to that change, you were very sort of negative. I'm not doing that. Very stubborn. Oh, no, that's not for me. No, definitely not. And you can almost see when we hear it out aloud, how you are actually cutting yourself off from the best version of yourself, from this expansion that is here for you, that is designed for you to experience in your life. But obviously, you've got to make that choice to get onto that timeline. Only you can do that. Nobody can do that for you. So be open to the process. Another technique I would like to share with you with this process is staying balanced. It's easier to say than do, yet again, but let's break that down. What is staying balanced? Well, staying balanced in your life, let's start with giving and receiving. We all help. Most of us help, and we feel obliged to help other people, share our energy, share our thoughts, share our love, even share our wealth and our success with others, which is a beautiful thing in turn. But because most of us that are listening and are getting involved with this conversation today, we very much feel the urge to be givers, to give, to help, to be kind. And we forget about the other end of the scales. And this is where we have to be open and receptive to receive that love and that kindness, that healing and that generosity to come back to ourselves. And you see, if you're not balanced on both sides of these scales with that, then there's going to be a few curveballs in your life that's going to knock you back, so that you can then assess your situation and again make that choice to change. And part of that process to stay in balance is, like I say, if you're a giver and you give far too much, is to, okay, yeah, I'm still going to give, but rather than when opportunities or people want to help me and I turn around and say, no, I'm okay, I'm going to make a conscious effort now to change that and say, okay, yes, that would be lovely. Thank you very much. And by doing that, it puts you on a different vibrational timeline there, where you're getting back in balance. Also, getting in balance is also talking about work and play. Now, I don't know about anybody else that's listening, but I'm very much guilty of work. Now, being a Capricorn as well, it's part of our genetics, so to speak, that we're very content, very happy when we're working and combining work with other activities. That is a true statement. But, I've got to take responsibility for that, and I'm suggesting that everybody else does. So assess your life. How hard are you working? Are you giving back to yourself by allowing yourself to play and have adventures? And when I use the term play, I'm talking about, for instance, your family life, your social circles outside your work commitments, and your downtime, getting some healing and energy back for yourself, going on adventures, going on holidays, having a change of scenery. It's so easy to work and cram as much in as you can. But unless you've got that balance in your life, there's always going to be that sort of aggravation, that irritation that's just going to keep coming up to the surface until you address the situation. Another technique for staying balanced is, once you've done that internal assessment there, grounding your energy. Many of us aren't balanced in our mind, in our vibration, because we're continually thinking about either the situation that's happened in the past, and we're like a stuck record, allowing it to go round in a loop in our minds, in our vibration, and we stay stuck in that. Or we can potentially be trying to work and figure something out to make our life a lot better. And in doing that, we're focusing on the future and how we can arrive at that destination, how we can make our life more fruitful and better for us. And in doing that, we're not fully grounded, if we're honest, because we're not being here now. We're not being present. And you see, being present, this is where we make all of our decisions. And this is how we can create the magic that we seek and that we desire in our lives. And so when we're not being present, we're devoid of that magic, that opportunity to make decisions and changes that will affect our vibration. So with this being said, it is very much, as I keep saying, an internal job. So you need to be okay about doing that. You need to take responsibility, and you can't start wagging the finger of blame to external sources. Another technique that I'd like to share with you, and again, A lot of us are very busy, and we always use the excuse that we haven't got time. When am I going to get time to do that? And I'm talking about listening to your soul. And let's break that down further. Listening to your soul. Your soul is your essence. It's that divine spark. It's what makes you, you. Your physical body is merely a housing for your soul, a means of you having your encounters in this dimension, in the third dimension on planet Earth. And so listening to your soul is, again, it's an inside job. It's observing. For me, when I am listening to my soul, is I trust the feelings that are stirring in me. So that feeling of joy, that feeling of happiness, that feeling of maybe disconnection and unease and agitation. And I observe these subtle nuances within my vibration. And based upon that, it helps me to make informed decisions by listening in if something is in alignment with me, such as the people or the company that I keep in my life. Are they still in alignment with me? Are we healing one another's vibration? Is it repelling me from the situation? These are questions that we need to be thinking about in order to thrive on our timeline. So listen to your soul. The next part, moving on from that, is to be open to inspiration. We've all had it, we all get it, and we all will continue to get inspiration. Inspiration is ideas, help, guidance from either your higher self or your spirit guides or your family members or loved ones in the world of spirit that are wanting to assist you from a different dimension. And when I say we've all had this, we have been in a situation where we get that, as they call it, eureka moment, where an idea is dropped into our mind from out of the blue, and we're like, whoa, that's unusual. Oh, yeah, that would work. Oh, wow, that's fascinating. Oh, usually we get a level of excitement, but there's some of us, and let's face it, I've been there, a lot of you listening have been there, where you get these ideas, this inspiration, and first of all, you poo-poo it and you say, no, that won't work. No, that's a load of nonsense. That's a bad idea. No, I don't think I could do that. Haven't got the finances, haven't got the time. No, I'm not doing that. And we've all been in that vibration, haven't we? But what I'm suggesting is be open to it. Be open to the inspiration. And to be open to it, you explore it further. So for me, when I get inspiration, I either get my phone out and I type what I've been told or what I've seen in my mind, and I type it out in the notes of my phone, or quite simply, I'll pick up a pen and paper and write it down. Once I've got it out of my head, then I can explore it further. And I want to say 9 times out of 10 with inspiration, what I find is it's a one-time only deal. So you have to be paying attention when it does come in, record the information. Once you have it there, then you can go back and you can analyze it further. And what you will find is when you are questioning this inspiration and you're thinking it in your imagination and visualizing the things, that you'll get a level of excitement that will build up. And this inquisitive mind of yours will be wanting more answers. And this will get to a stage where you will actually start doing some research around it, maybe online or in the physical, or you may be asking friends or family their opinions on your idea that's come into your mind. And this is a great thing. Keep following that inspiration, keep chasing it. And you'll notice that a lot of these things that are being gifted to you are to help you on your timeline and make your life flourish with ease and grace. Another technique I'd like to share with you regarding this situation about remaining grateful and living your best life is journaling. Now, again, a lot of people, when you say journaling or keeping a diary, they immediately switch off because they see it as too much work, too much effort. Oh, I'm not doing that. Oh, when have I got the time to do that? And I'll put my hands up with this one. I'm one of those people, simply because, for one, as you've heard me state on these shows before, I'm dyslexic. And it's something I've had to learn and grow with throughout my life. And so anything where writing is concerned, I know that sounds crazy because I'm an author, as you know, then I tend to, part of me switches off. But I have to, in this case, journaling can be about, in your phone, in your calendar on your phone, you can type in what you did that day. You can even leave voice notes in there now, so you don't have to type. Just so for your benefit, you can then have an understanding of what's happened throughout your day and why it's happened. And also you can let it go as well, because journaling is a great way of releasing some of those trapped emotions, those thoughts that have been rattling around your head. Because let's face it, if we allow those thoughts to continue, this is where emotions can come up to the surface. This is where frustration, anger, aggravation, and all the things that we don't want in our vibration can start to manifest because it's churning round in our vibration. So journaling is a way of releasing some of that information and also just keeping track on things. What I'd like to also say about journaling, it's a great way, as I alluded to, of clearing your vibration, getting from what's within you out of you. It's a way of releasement. And that in turn can be very satisfying because it can clear your energy, your vibration, so that you're not too stubborn. You're not a stick in the mud. You're open to change and you're open to fresh perspectives by doing this. So it's a great thing. It's a great tool to maybe bring into your life. Some days you may not want to put any entries into your diary or into the calendar on your phone, and that's fine. And that's fine. Do what you feel you need to, but I would say in general, it's going to help you out in the long run. Speaking of helping you out in the long run, a little technique that I have done with my students and myself as well, and I find this very useful. And this is where you get a sheet of A4 paper, you get a pen obviously, and you draw a line down the center from top to bottom of that sheet of A4 paper. And on the left-hand column, you write positive at the top. And on the right-hand column at the top, you write negative. And what you're going to do is you're going to analyze your life from your vantage point, where you are now, of all the things that you deem as positive. Write that on your list on the left-hand side of that column, and on the right-hand side of that paper, from your now moment perspective, you write down all the things in your experience, in your life right now, that are deemed as negative, that you don't like. And it is only when we begin to sit with ourselves and do this honest deep dive work, and when we see it written onto paper, again, we're clearing our vibration. We're letting all of this sort of confusion from our internal world come out and be birthed into this dimension, into the physical world. And it is when we see it, it's almost like it begins to start a form of healing in your vibration. You can start to make logical sense of, well, why am I holding that in my life? If I perceive it as negative, why am I hanging on to it? Why am I still doing something that's causing me disharmony in my life? So at that point, you can then begin, as we said earlier, from the gift of contrast, to make the changes necessary in your life to remove those things that aren't bringing you peace, that aren't bringing you joy in your life, looking at the negative side of your column. Then I'd want you to look at the positive side of your column, things that you deem as positive in your life at this moment in time from your observational viewpoint of the now moment consciousness. And I want you to look down that list, and although it's all positive, it's all the things that you enjoy, I want you to look at it from a balanced point of view. Now, the things in that list on the positive side, what is robbing you of your balance in your life? What is taking away your joy, even though you enjoy it? Is it considered work or is it considered play? And if it's robbing you of that balance in your life, then maybe put it further down the list on the positive and narrow that positive list down to things that serve both your work, your family, your work and play life, and start to visualize it and write maybe a new list with that in mind. And what you will find is a great amount of shift in your vibration, mentally, emotionally, and physically will begin to occur because you'll be able to see life from a different vantage point. And this is where you can then make the necessary choices so that you can live a fruitful and enriched life of your own choosing, because you've arrived at that destination by doing the internal work that so many speak about. Well, I say speak about, so many assume that people have got their things together in their life. But in actual fact, we're not taught this at school. We're not taught this anywhere. So we need to have this conversation today. And by doing so, and by helping you maybe assess and do that internal work, your lives can be the best lives you've ever lived once you start to put it into action. So with this, I want you to also value everything in your life. Everything. I'm talking about everything, whether you like it, whether you don't. Value everything because it does serve a purpose. It is here to serve you. The information, the experiences that you're going through, it's not a curse. It's here to serve you. And it's here to give you maybe the gift of contrast so that you can get back on track again and decide, do you like it? Don't you like it? Yes or no? And it is simple as that. And it's with additional questioning that you can get to the root cause of what's making you feel maybe unbalanced or just unmotivated. And you can start to turn that around very quickly when you come from that perspective. Now, something that a lot of us don't do, myself included, because what I generally do is if I'm working or I've got a project or, if there's a personal endeavor in my life, I go through it, I do it, and then I move on. I don't dwell upon it. I keep on moving forward. But I feel, myself included in this one, that we all need to track our progress. And again, journaling would be a great way of doing that. And, maybe every couple of months or maybe every month, if you wish, go through your accounts within that month. Read what you've been up to, and you'll start to see a pattern forming. You'll start to see also how your life is progressing, how things are changing. We mentioned earlier that nothing stays the same. Everything is in continued motion. So you'll begin to see at least some of that pattern changing, albeit very subtly. You will notice, particularly if you're putting in your journal your thoughts and your feelings. It's very important that you do that because, as you know, what we thought yesterday, we think completely different today. And when you track that progress in your journaling, you'll begin to see how far you've actually grown as an individual. So with that being the case, I'd like you to observe that, how far you have come by looking at your journaling and really reflecting in on it. Because it's so easy, isn't it, to feel stuck and stagnant in our lives and woe is me, and in that vibration, nothing's changing. But in actual fact, if we look at our inserts into our journaling and we listen or observe our thoughts and our feelings, we can see that we are evolving, we are changing. With that being said, I believe this is a great thing that we aren't doing enough of, and that is celebrating our mini victories. Now, a mini victory can be different to each and every individual, as we know, because we all have things that we consider good, that we consider bad, that we see as a milestone, that we see as a triumph. We've all got our own perspective on this. But, just to give you an example, so for somebody that is very reclusive, doesn't talk to people, stays in a lot of the time, and finds it hard to communicate and shies away from communication, then a mini victory for that individual would be, if they was out shopping, to say hello to somebody that they didn't know. Maybe it's the cashier at the checkout or what have you. And then engage in a little bit of a conversation, hello, how are you? They'll reply, and then you can reply after to give a response to what they've said. And you see, that is a mini victory because you've stepped out of your own way, you've moved out of your own comfort zone, and you're expanding your vibration in doing so. And so celebrating that, I'm not promoting that you go out and buy some champagne and you go out and have a party about it. But I'm talking about recognizing these minor victories in your life. And when you just give it a little bit of your time and your attention, in your head, in your thoughts, in your emotions, that will then give you the energy, the momentum to move forward, to create more of those moments, more things for you to be grateful for when you analyze them. And you can see where we're going with this, can't you? Because after all, we are talking about remaining grateful. So that will allow you to stay in that vibration of gratitude. And also what will help you to stay in that vibration, and don't get me wrong, it can be very challenging. Nevertheless, it's easier said than done, is remaining optimistic. So it doesn't matter what the set of circumstances are that you are going through or have been through. Again, if we come from that perspective of life is here to serve us, it's here for our greatest good. These circumstances, situations are for our highest good so that we can expand, we can grow, and we can take our power back and our energy back by making, I would say, educated decisions. And what I'm talking about by saying educated decisions is collating all the information. Journaling, as we've mentioned, the balancing, also listening to your soul, being open to inspiration, clearing your vibration, doing the A4 paper list that we mentioned earlier, and valuing everything in your life. Having that, it creates a change. It creates a new vibration for you to step into so that you can open up and expand. And then that can then trigger you to remain optimistic. Yes, change is already happening. It's not 10 years down the line or whatever. It's happening now. And when you see it and observe it, you then get into that lane, that vibration. And this will help to catapult you moving forward on a timeline that you didn't even exist prior to doing these exercises. So yeah, it's a great thing, remaining optimistic. And it's, as I say, easier said than done. But you have to keep going within. We're all encouraged, let's face it. And it's an assumption that, we focus in on the external world, what is happening around us, what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. But nobody hardly ever asks what's happening within you. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are you going through? It's an assumption that you've got your life together, isn't it? And you're dealing with that yourself. But it would be nice, I think, in a society where we could talk about these things, be more open, honest and realistic with one another. And by doing that, it is in my belief system that the planet would change for the better. It would change because we'd all be connecting with one another from a soul perspective, and we would be aligning, showing empathy. We'd be listening, we'd be feeling, we'd be sharing healing energy, and we would be inspiring one another to move beyond our perceived blocks that we have placed there in front of ourselves and move into our highest timeline in our lives. So I believe that would absolutely change the world that we know right here, right now. The moment that we stop, externalizing situations and start talking about the inner world, I feel as though that everything will change dramatically for the better. And we'll then begin to realize that we are all creators in our lives and that we have the power. We've had the power all along to make decisions, to align with different experiences. It's just the fact that we've become unstuck from our soul perspective. But sharing some of these techniques today hopefully will help you get back in alignment with your true essence and make this a priority in your life, as opposed to focusing in and dialing into the external world first. To me, it feels like very upside down, very inverted, shall we say, the way that we're sort of encouraged, even though it's not spoke of. It's like a way of being, isn't it? And it's the norm. It's considered the norm. But I think if we could make little ripples into life's ocean by just flipping that script round and, holding space for people, listening to their plights, sharing inspiration, not chastising them, not judging them, not ridiculing them, but just holding space. I believe that will start to create this ripple effect that we're talking about. Also, can I just say, show continued gratitude. And this can be particularly easier said than done. If we're going through a difficult situation, most people sarcastically say, "Oh, great. Yeah, that's great. I've got this. Ooh, yeah, great. Aren't I lucky?" They say that very sarcastically, but in actual fact, maybe if we analyze why they're saying that, maybe it's their soul that is encouraging them to stay optimistic in that situation. But their human side, their ego side, is changing the way that information is being delivered. So it does sound more sarcastic and comedic. When in actual fact, it could be their soul that's just saying it, but the ego mind is putting a spin on it, again, to keep them in that vibrational loop, to stop them living and thriving in their best timeline. That's just occurred to me, that thought. So I thought I'd share that with you. My final piece with this today is literally make peace your priority. So what I mean by that, anything that brings you joy and allows you to stay connected to your soul and your soul's mission, and you feel balanced, you feel in alignment, then do more of that. And anything that obviously doesn't do that, this is where, again, the gift of contrast kicks in. you can make that decision to remove the things that take you away from your peace. So give that some thought. Anyway, I hope this piece today has helped you in some way, shape or form to start and take your power back within every single avenue of your life and make these changes. And I hope that everything that your soul has planned for you, that you decide to get back into alignment with it. How is everybody doing? I hope you're having a tremendous week so far. If you're anything like me, you'll be observing how life is changing. And already, as we suggested, that we are in the throes of February of 2026. And I don't know about everybody else, but I'm finding that time is very elastic at this moment. It's like 1 minute it's speeding up very, very quick. As I say, we're in February. And the next minute, the seconds, the hours are dragging, and it can seem like an eternity. So I've been observing that in recent weeks there, and leading up to this week, in fact. And I've also noticed that pets, animals, are noticing changes. And I feel, and what I've observed with our own cat called Callie, is that she's gravitating towards the family. She wants to sit with family, wants to particularly sit on their knee. And it's almost as if she can read their energy, she can read their vibration, and she just holds space for that individual by just going supposedly to sleep, catnapping, if you will. But I feel as though that this is not just our cat that's doing it, but there's a lot of other animals that are gravitating towards us humans at this moment in time. And I feel as though that they're aware of these changes that are happening galactically. And part of their purpose is to help us align, help us to heal, help us to remember who we are and reconnect in with that. So the next time you see either a pet or an animal coming towards you, resist the urge to shun them away. Just embody their presence, because they're aware of your energetic body, and they're aware that on some level they need to be in your presence. They don't understand why they're doing it. They just feel drawn to you. So allow them to be connected with you, and notice the substantial changes that happen in your experience, in your vibration, having had that time with a pet or with an animal. Very interesting, isn't it? How this is occurring at this moment in time. So just observe that, if you will. So now we're going to move into this week's channeling from the world of spirit. This is the part where I allow spirit to blend their energy with mine, using me as a vessel in order to come through and share their wisdoms and communications.
Hello, I hope you don't mind us coming through. We've been instructed to make our way through the vessel today to communicate some wonderful, insightful information all about your psychology and the way that you think, or at least you think you're thinking. Because most of you will be aware that you've been infiltrated in the way in which you utilise your physical, mental mind. Now, what we mean by this is basically, it's almost like a virus, a hijack. You've been hijacked in your mind, in your psychology, to believe certain narratives that were never true in their conception in the first place. However, with you being brought up around this level of environment and truths and belief systems that were, shall we say, untrue, you began to adopt this information as your own, when in fact it is not. It's not your own. You're just copying and emulating the narrative, the script, if you like, that has been filtered down through generation after generation, and society has been warped, and it has evolved in a state of conscious being that it is now, where it's going through a change of flux, a change in evolution. There's the old energy that's wanting to stay safe and remain in that old level of conscious thinking, where there is another energy that's coming in to heighten your awareness of the truth. Many of you will witness things changing around you, behaviors of people, society changing, belief systems changing, new levels of thinking changing. You will disregard your educational system as you become more familiar and aware of the fact that it is based upon facts and not truth. When you align with the truth, you will know it in your heart, as it will flow with ease and grace, without an agenda. You won't feel the anxious thoughts. You will not experience worry or the need to rush or put yourself under pressure. One should realize and know that the educational system is there to serve, but serve only those who are in control of this manipulation that has occurred throughout generation after generation. We understand that we are going pretty deep with this subject matter, and we do not wish to alarm or frighten you by uncovering certain realities to you. But what we will say is that in these changes that you will all bear witness to, you will become the observer of thoughts, not your thoughts. Notice how we're making that distinction. They only become your thoughts when you invest your focused attention on them. But in reality, they're just energy information passing through, moving through time, space, and what you would perceive as your reality. So with this being the case, you will become more observational of this information passing through, and with your heart and with your soul, this will give you the ability to filter through them in order to seek the truth. And anything that does not feel that of a free-flowing, high-vibrational content of information, you will disregard it and let it carry on its energetic journey. As the old song used to say, by an artist called Elvis Presley, we believe, return to sender. And in fact, that's what you'll do. By not engaging in this energetic information, it's going to go back to where it was created from. So it will not have the desired effect that it was encouraged to have. Instead, with you becoming more observational of this thought and informational vibrations, you will then begin to shape your own truths and your own reality. You will notice that inspired thought and vision will enter your mind. And with this being the case, you will also filter through this system of your heart and your truth. If it does align and excite you, then you will give it your time, your attention, and allow it to blossom in your mind in order for the packets of information and downloads installed within that thought, frequency and energy. You will notice that a lot of people on earth will start to begin to do this. And the way that you perceive your reality will change as a result. We've mentioned many times before on transmissions that have gone before this one that your perception of colour and sound will change. Many of you describe it as heaven on earth. When you see the truth and the vibrancy of the colours emanating, glowing, you'll feel a connection, a oneness to this colour. You will also embrace the healing qualities within colours. At the moment, yes, you see colour, but you're not experiencing the truth of colour. And the truth of colour is that of a healing vibration, an energetic field that will not only empower you, uplift you, but also it emanates ions and energy into your atmosphere, which when you feel the truth of it, you can connect with that energy and vibration. This can help you heal both the mind and the physical and energetic body. And those amongst you that are receiving the positive and creative downloads from the universe will become to realize that you can tap into the potential of this energy and create what you would describe as electricity, power, and convert that into anything in which you want to do so. But we're a short time from that becoming into your physical reality. First of all, you must engage with the truth and filter through these packets of information, what you would term as thoughts, passing through your conscious mind. Once you've grappled that, again, we refer back to the heaven on earth situation. You will begin to perceive things a lot differently. An energy visiting from other dimensions, other planets, other solar systems, and other, shall we say, spirit beings will have the opportunity to engage with you on a conscious vibration. Like we're communicating through the vessel now, there will be the opportunity for free-flowing conversations like you have between yourselves as individual humans. You'll notice that telepathy will be used more often than not as you begin to have conversations with other beings from other realities, sharing their and encouraging you to see the truth in all and everything. Your trees on your earth are more valuable than what you ever imagined. We would like to use the term, they're like an antennae, a transmitter, a giver and receiver of life and energy. They also form a network of information that is shared between countries and the individuals in those countries and thereabouts. How many of you have found that when you go and spend some time in woodland or forest, or even if you have that opportunity where you feel inspired and drawn to put your arms around the trunk of a tree, hug the tree, and allow it to heal thy hurts and remove those old ions, those old energies that are no longer empowering you in your conscious living moments. What we say is when you hug a tree like this, it is both a giver and receiver of light and energy. And those of you that allow and embrace it will bear witness to this beauty of creation. So to go back on point with our subject matter of the mind and the conscious and the subconscious mind, there will be a lot of you that will be tussling and wrestling with what was, what is, and what will be. It's a peculiar time to being on your planet right now, as everything is always happening at the same time, but your mind is just catching up to that concept. And so when you amalgamate the combinations of your experience process within your timeline. It will cause this, shall we say, stuttering vibration within your mind and your thinking processes. Almost as if let me use the analogy of computer terminology, almost as if the memory, the hard drive, has been infiltrated and has been defragmented of all rogue pieces of information, stopping it flowing correctly and working at its optimal vibrational system.
What a fantastic communication there from the world of spirit. And I'm sure you'll agree with me. There's lots that we can extract from that communication and embody into our daily lives. So now we're going to move into the next segment of this show, which is this week's sneaky peek into this week's forecast reading. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the reading. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday, the 9th of February 2026. Now, those of you that watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and consult the wisdom of the Angel Tarot cards. So what I'm about to do is just shuffle the pack and allow a card to come out for this week's forecast reading. So this is your card for this week's reading, and I'm going to link into the vibration of it. First of all, I'm being told, be patient. Everything's coming in just in divine timing. Although you are going right close to the wire, and I feel as though this is referring to a lot of you where your financial situation is concerned. You're being told to hold your faith, have patience, and look for the signs from the universe. The signs will be littered everywhere, but you have to be paying attention to see them. I'm talking about hearing repetitive songs on the radio that fulfill what you're trying to manifest, or what you're aiming to have in your life will appear on that format, also on number plates as well. So do watch out for that. Also this week, we'll see a change in the way that you operate in your day-to-day living. And what I mean by this is that you're going to show more time and attention and devotion back to you, giving back to you. And what once aligned with you, this is the end of the free version of the weekly forecast reading. If you would like to see the entirety of this week's forecast reading, then you can do that by subscribing. And as a subscriber, what you will receive is the full version of the weekly forecast reading. You will also receive the audio for the weekly radio show, and also you'll receive 10% off all of my spiritual services there. So this includes all of the readings there for you to benefit from. And also you will receive new updates and information and news of what's happening with myself and the services that I provide, and also the events that I take part in. You'll hear all about that ahead of everybody else. And this is because you're a subscriber to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. So you can find a link either above or below this video, where by clicking on the link, you can then become a subscriber to reap all of the benefits that I've described to you. So I look forward to having you on this journey with me as a Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium subscriber. Thank you for taking time to watch this video and supporting the work that Spirit and myself work together in doing so. Well, that sounds a fantastic start to the week, doesn't it? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. I hope you can extract some wisdom, some inspiration from it, because that is always the case and the intention behind them. If you have any show suggestions, any questions for the show, then please contact me at www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com, or you can email me at glennboddice.live.co.uk. Have a fabulous week, everybody. See you same place, same time next Monday, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to Glenn Boddice spiritual medium.